You're listening to the Be Forever Cool podcast. My name is Rex 45. This evening we got lots to talk about. Indonesia, a lot went down. There are a lot of firsts. Excited about that. There's some, tough things to talk about with some of the riders. So we're gonna jump into it. But let me introduce our guests to tonight, one at a time. First, let's bring in TJ to the building. TJ, what's going on, man? How you doing?
And hanging in there, ready to talk motorcycles. It was a interesting weekend overall. A lot happened, so ready to get into it.
Yeah, no doubt. And I saw that the Patriots won, so you must be excited about that. But hopefully, you're not gonna get your hopes up too much.
Uh, Everyone's afraid of us always. It's good to see us to get a big win. Take an undefeated team down, but you know we do what we always do. So we'll see. We don't have Tom Brady, but we still dogs in the end. We always fight. So.
No doubt, no doubt. That's what's up. We're gonna keep it moving. Reese, man, welcome to the show. See you behind the wheels. I know you're gonna be getting on a plane soon and going to check out Portugal and stuff like that. What's going on, man? How things? Might have lost Reese there. We're gonna get back to Reese. Lewis, man, welcome to the show, man. How you doing tonight, man?
Good, man. Glad to be back on camera. Last week I was driving, so I was blacked out the entire time, which is a good thing because people couldn't see my face or
Right.
reacting to some of the things.
They just had to listen.
They just had to listen to the tone of my voice and know that I had that look on my face.
Yeah, hey, well, they're gonna see it tonight for sure, man. So everything's good.
Yeah, everything's good. Back home for a week. Next week I'll be out in Cali for a few days, and I'm back home for a couple weeks, and then I'm off to Italy for 10 days, and then I'm back home again. So this next couple of months is a lot of home and trip and home and trip and home and trip. But everything else is good, man. Season's over, so now I'm just putting all the pieces together for the riders that are going to be working with me next year,
Right.
making sure that I got everything I need to take care of them. And for those of you that think it's not, I mean, it's hard enough doing bikes and everything else, but it's just as hard doing gear, getting it together. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit even more pressure because we'll have a suit designed or we'll have, suits made, and they'll ship and they'll get here. And literally the day they get here, the rider's like, oh, I got a new patch to add, or I'm going to change this, or I'm going to change that. And, it's not easy to make those moves. It takes time, but
It's, it's,
we got a quick crew for next year.
No doubt, it's not, and I feel you there with the traveling and stuff like that. As I got in last night, and I'm sitting here complaining about it today, but it is what it is, and we're going to talk about next season as well and what that looks like, and the behind the scenes and stuff like that. We'll wait for Reese to come back in. Like, he might have had some technical issues on his side, so we'll keep it moving until comes back. So let's talk about it. The race, MotoGP was Indonesia, and I'm gonna mess up the name of the track. But
Mandalika.
Thank you, Mandalika, which I didn't realize it was VR46 Academy team. I guess second home track, and I didn't even notice their colors too much. I was only seeing the yellow, but they were kind of further back in the situation this weekend. But let's jump into it. Aprilia. They look really good. They down two riders. Still were able to, get pole position, and Raul Fernandez, even though he had a contract for next year. I think he's the closest thing to what the Gin Antonio had to go through when he was struggling with Grazzini for a bit, and then he found his way at the end. I mean, I know in the Digius case, he didn't have a contract waiting, and his finish of the season allowed him to get signed with VR46 Academy, and now he gets the 25 bike, and he's one of the top riders, and I mean he's one of the top 5 riders in the championship, or top 6 in the championship. And so the most impressive thing was what Raul's doing, and what he's been doing lately, getting on the podium and stuff like that. That's huge. What are your thoughts, TJ?
Well, I mean, we don't hear much about these guys, so at this point in the season, it's kind of finally to hear some names that we should be hearing. He's been struggling for a while, and to ride really well at a track where a lot of riders did not, is pretty good to see. And for him to get on the podium is awesome. Well deserved, and he needs the confidence. So definitely going forward for being on a 2025 bike, I think he definitely would be more improved. But I think it's good to see him on the podium for sure. And
That's
he already got six in the Grand Prix, so he overall a good weekend for himself.
Yeah, let me just check right now. I think so. I mean, he was close in the beginning, and yeah, top six in the championship, third in the sprint. What are your thoughts, Lewis, on how Aprilia is doing? We'll talk about Bezecchi's crash and Mark crash. We'll probably jump into that right after since we're talking about Aprilia. But what Raul, what he's been doing. He's not going to be fighting for rookie of the year because he's been in MotoGP now for a few years. But do you think this is something where if sponsors were thinking about leaving, or Trackhouse might have been like, well, we won't see him in 27. Do you think like he's doing enough now to sit here and say, hey man, I deserve a job and to stay in MotoGP at least for 4 years?
There's two things coming together here at the same time. One, I think he's finding his rhythm. He's been pretty consistent when he's been finishing races. He's been very consistent. He's been kind of working his way up from the bottom of the grid. If you remember at the beginning of the year, I mean, this guy was written off. His teammate was very competitive, and then when his teammate went in one direction, he started going in the opposite direction. As his teammate went down, he went up. And I think that's two things. I think one, he probably found the right mix of the setup that he needed. But as I said previously, the only other bike that's competitive to do Ducati right now is the Aprilia.
Right.
And I think Aprilia has kind of taken these small steps throughout the season, and you've seen how they've gotten more and more competitive. Now, on a regular basis, they're right up there at the front. They're at the pointy end of the spear. And I think he's just taking advantage of Aprilia getting its rhythm under it, of him getting his rhythm under him, finding the right setups. The kid can ride. It's not that the kid couldn't ride. I mean, all these guys in MotoGP can ride, man. They show up at any track day, they're going to wipe the floor with anybody. They show up at most racing events, they're going to wipe the floor with anybody if it's a competitive bike. Here, you're at the very tip of the sword, man. It's just so narrow up there. I mean, you can finish in 15th place and you're only, 8/10 of a second slower a lap, but you finished in 15th place, almost 8 seconds off the leader. Like, it's crazy, dude. Like, when you think about those numbers, 8 seconds,
Yeah.
it takes me longer than that to go from here to the garage and back. and now
No,
I'm in 15th place.
yeah, no, it's definitely crazy to see that. I mean, and even in Moto 2, you see it more when look at Joe Roberts was like, point, 7 seconds off of the number one guy, and it's just kind of like I'm in 15th place. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense.
So I think Aprilia has made just a couple of right of adjustments, and he's made whatever adjustments he needs to make. And it's good to see him up there, man. I like to see these young guys, getting their opportunities to be on the podium. I love to see new faces on the podium, man. There's nothing worse than seeing the same 3 or 4 guys sharing the podium week in and week out. And even if it's just a sprint race, you know what, man? Sprint builds kind of confidence. If you get enough good sprints under you, then you start thinking, hey, if I could do this in a sprint, I just got to double up the amount of time and I can do this in the race.
Right,
And
right.
we've seen that with other young guys. I look forward to the rest of the season. I was thinking for a while that Aprilia was only going to be competitive at certain tracks, but I mean, they're proving to me now that they're actually competitive in a lot of tracks, man. It's not just a few tracks. They're definitely a step ahead of Yamaha. They're definitely a step ahead of Honda,
Hmm.
and they're kind of like the up and coming manufacturer, the guys to look out for.
Right, right. No, I agree with that. And TJ, you didn't. Let's talk about Bezecchi. He got pole position. He seems like he's the only guy that been fighting with Mark Marquez in the races as of late. And the Aprilia is, as we heard, you just heard Lewis say, is one of the best bikes out there. Granted, they still got to figure out their starts. But what a way for Bez to come from 8 to win the sprint. And and now let's talk about Mark and Bez's crash. Was it really Bez's fault? on that. So what are your thoughts, TJ, on what Bez is doing, what Aprilia is doing as far as they're taking away points away from Ducati.
Yeah, I mean, like Lewis and you guys were saying, Aprilia has definitely been the manufacturer who's been the most competitive to Ducati, with Ducati having so many bikes on the grid. And having the championship being out and have to rely on your other factory rider, Bezecchi has definitely stepped it up for the second half of the season. They've been having great setups, and coming into this race, for him to get pole was awesome. It just shows that that bike has a good setup at most tracks so far. His pace was just second to none. Like the start that he had was pretty bad in the sprint, which put him back a lot of places. And he just had a mentality, I guess, from following Mark so much that, how to fight from the back and just work his way to the front. And it's pretty impressive for the amount of laps that he had to do it. And just Aldeguer could have pulled it out. Could have had an awesome weekend, but Bezecchi pulled out the first place, and that was pretty cool to see him fight and get to the podium. Going into the GP, uh, I think it was just more of like, I don't know if it was Bez's fault. I think he was just too eager going into the corner, knowing he had to follow Mark probably and just keep up with the pace in the front. Um, I think Mark probably went a little wide in the corner slightly, but yeah, I think it was just a freak accident. Obviously, we don't think he did it on purpose, and
Right.
it's just unfortunate that we've been seeing this type of incidents in past couple of races, so it's something going on there.
I agree. There's definitely something going on. Lewis, what are your thoughts on Bez, the accident, just how he's riding? When you look at this, I gotta look at the standings to be sure. I could have been dreaming, but when I looked at it, it was like Mark Marquez, Alex Marquez, Bagnaia, VR46 Academy riders. It seems like it's Rossi and the Marquezes, because these are all Rossi students, right? So, what are your thoughts on it? Is it a fluke thing? Is it just because he's part of the VR46 Academy, and it seems like outside of Pecco Bagnaia at the moment, like the VR46 Academy riders, they know how to talk to the engineers and get what they want from the bikes.
I mean, it could be a couple of things because the VR46 riders, obviously, they get a lot of training in bike setup and how to talk to mechanics and how to understand data and so forth and so on. But they have a lot of talent too. I mean, it's not like they accept anybody into the VR46 Academy. If they bring you into the fold, it's because they see something in you that they believe they can develop into a champion or into somebody that could be a contender.
Right.
Bezecchi right now is probably riding the best that I think he's ever ridden. I think he's taken the Aprilia pretty far. I mean, he's the only one that was giving them feedback. He was a one-man team. Out of four guys on an Aprilia, he was the only one that was really getting the bike to do anything that he wanted. And once they kind of fixed it, figured out the issues, he kind of ran with it. I still think that if he keeps going at the pace he's going, he's probably going to finish ahead of Bagnaia at the end of the year.
Yep.
Which will be a win in itself. I mean, you beat a former champion, you beat a guy that's on the factory team in Ducati, which everybody considers the penultimate or the best bike in the grid. You're the second best bike in the grid. So these are all little victories he can walk away with. And for the most part, he's riding great. Coming back from again, horrible start. Something with the Aprilia is not right. These starts suck. They can't keep doing this because eventually it's going to catch up. And it kind of caught up in the second race, in the race itself. In the sprint, he was able to kind of get through a lot of people and get to the front. But in the long race, I think he's trying to compensate for such a bad start that you start making small mistakes. And on this particular track, if you saw, there weren't a lot of great places to pass, it seemed. There was a few places. And maybe he just got over eager and clashed into Mark. I don't think he did it on purpose because
Right.
he's out there trying to win.
Did it look like they had two separate lines?
It looked like they had two separate lines, but again, that could be Mark's riding style versus Bezecchi's riding style. Until you're on the bike, you can't, you can't really say. You can't, every bike has its different dynamics when you go through a turn. The Ducati is known for being a great stable bike under braking. The Aprilia is known for having a different type of line and this and that. And then Mark himself can do things other riders can't do in the mid corner and the way that he slows the bike and pushes it out of the corner. I just think again, it's always the passing rider's responsibility to
Right.
pass safely. So if you clash into somebody like that, and that wasn't like a small bump, like that was a legitimate clash.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you,
Bez had
you,
to stand the bike
yeah,
up.
yeah, you have to kind of own it. And Bez owned it. Bez said his apologies and everything else. And I think Mark did a class act thing by saying, hey, this is a racing incident. I don't take this as anything serious. I don't believe at one moment that Bezecchi did this on purpose.
But
And I think that was
you
Mark
know
trying
that
to like change the temperature in the room because what the
what was the
you
day
know
before? He had a long lap penalty for bumping what you call it
yeah,
out the way.
exactly. So it's like uh,
He has to take it that way because he
but
was
but
on
he
the other
also
side of it, but they stayed upright.
But you also have to think who hit him, a VR 46 rider.
Yeah.
So, right now, as soon as a VR 46 rider takes Mark Marquez out, I mean, people are blowing their loads all over Italy right now because they're like, hey, like, so he's trying to change the narrative and lower the temperature in the room and say,
Right.
this is a racing incident. I don't, I know that he didn't do it on purpose. I think Mark is showing he has a lot of respect, even though they're banging when they're racing, off the track. He's trying to be that guy that shows a lot of respect to people because he doesn't want to further go down that mud and get pulled into that quicksand again of like drama with Italian riders, drama with VR 46, this and that's. Like, you know what? It just sucks that he's going to miss the next two rounds because he's only 55 points away from setting a new all-time
Right.
record 600 points. So hopefully he'll take these next two rounds. He'll heal up. He'll come back after the flyaways, do a couple of rounds in Europe, and maybe get those last 55 points he needs and set that 600 point mark, man.
Yeah. Okay. That's what's up. Let's talk about it. Ducati struggled this weekend.
Really?
Um,
I didn't notice. I did not notice.
a little bit, a little bit. Ducati struggled a little bit this weekend.
A lot of
Um,
it.
you,
Give
you
me
know, and I said this. I mean, I've been saying this all. It's one of the things I really do, and I'm going to try to be more like Lewis and say I'm right all the time.
Well, you have to actually be right all the time if you're gonna say
you
you're right all
know,
the time.
most times I am when I say I am. But Ducati's messing up. I mean, I think that I think the 2025 Ducati is probably the worst bike they've made since 2020. And 2020 was their worst bike because they didn't give it to the satellite teams. They all had 19 bikes, and that bike didn't survive. And it sounds like Alex Marquez doesn't want a 25 bike. They're running from the 25 bike. Is it a situation where you look back at when Vinales started struggling with Yamaha? When Pedrosa and these other guys are struggling with Honda, but Quartararo could ride the bike fast for Yamaha. Mark could ride the bike fast for Honda. Mark could not ride the bike fast for Ducati, but the bike is not the same. It's not. They're starting to slip. And we saw that then, and we just thought, they just kind of said like, these riders are just gonna, they have to figure it out. It's the confidence thing, it's a that thing. And then 3 years later, the bike is bad, and everybody is unanimous. So I say all that to say, like, this is on Ducati, right? The way these bikes are running at this point. We can't. I know Pecco gets a lot of flack. And welcome back to the show, Reese. But what are your thoughts? We'll start with TJ.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pecco has been riding Ducati for a good long time. He's been the champion, so he's been putting the ins and out of that. So if the talks is like that, it should be like based around his riding style. But for this year, I don't know if Mark and his riding style is uh they developed more around him because they're just getting more W's and if you're winning, you have to go with what's working. And so whoever is not doing good, you gotta, all right, this is what's working, so you gotta figure out what's working. So Pecco's just not it's not working for him going that route.
Right.
He's used to like, setting his way and his pace, and it's just not working that way. But yeah, I think the bike is, I don't know who is involved around, but I think yeah, I just think that it's all how Mark's set it up, basically, of how he's been winning,
Okay.
and how they did with the Honda. Like we were saying, is like they develop it in his style, so now no one can really ride the bike, so they got to kind of start from scratch. So yeah, I don't know what Ducati's problem is. The one good thing is that they have a lot of bikes out there, no matter what, that they always will be in the top five somehow, some way. Another Ducati rider will end up pulling it up.
Yeah, you might have a point there, for sure. Reese, man, let's talk to you. Let's talk to you, man. We're talking about Aprilia first before, so you might miss that. So you might want to talk about Aprilia a little bit. Just how they have it together, although they're still struggling on the start and stuff like that. They seem to be the most consistent bike this season, even though Raul had to find his way mentally, I believe. And maybe he just needed to be around different riders. I mean, Aleix Espargaro, it might be tough for somebody to talk to because he's so intense last year and stuff like that on the Aprilia. But any thoughts on Aprilia and what they were able to do this weekend and how competitive they were despite Bezecchi's crash on Sunday?
I mean, no, I mean, Bezecchi was very competitive. I mean, he was one of the fastest guys out there. I mean, besides his mental breakdown of running in the back of Marquez, uh, I mean, the Aprilia looks solid. I mean, he is the number one guy, for that squad right now. So besides, like I said, he is the number one squad. He's taking that bike. He's been there through the thick of it, and he's actually put that bike well back on top. So I got to give it to Aprilia because he's actually turning it almost into a development rider. So
Yeah, I agree with that. And we kind of mentioned that a little bit and talked about, is that just kind of the tutelage of Rossi, right? Because you look at the top five guys, it's the Marquez brothers, and then it's the BR46 Academy riders, and so it's not just a fluke when you see what Luca is doing and all these other guys are doing and stuff like that. So do you think it's a little bit more of, he like Bezecchi's just he's in the best academy that you could be in MotoGP.
I mean, he is in one of the top academies. I mean, you got to look at everybody that's come through there. Even JD Beach has come through there. But you just got to look at all the guys that's come through there. Rossi's giving you the knowledge, but if you don't use it, then it's not worth anything. But he's actually taking what he learns and probably utilizing it and talking to Aprilia, coming from a Ducati bike going into a Aprilia factory bike and learning what works and what don't works and trying it and telling. It all comes down to the rider being able to talk to your crew chief and explain exactly what he needs to be done and
Right.
trusting your team to get it done. That's where it comes down. Because if you can't talk to your crew chief and explain what the problem is, then it's not going to work. So, but he's actually doing really well, and I think he's utilizing from what he learned from Rossi. Same thing as Marini.
Right. Okay. No, I agree. And to get you caught up now, yeah. So is this Ducati had a rough weekend overall? Is Ducati messing up? I mean, it seems like the 24 bike is the best Ducati to date. What are your thoughts? Or is it just conditions in Indonesia? A lot of them, even Marquez struggled.
I think it was a little bit of both. I think the conditions were a little crappy because I mean, if you look at a lot of people going down, there were a lot of bikes going down, and I think that the 25 bike is one of the worst bikes versus the 24. Um, you could have actually what they call overdevelopment the bike. You could have overdid it and you need to step back a little bit and go back to the 24 platform. Um, so I think that's where they're at. I think that's why, like you said, Alex Marquez doesn't even want the bike. He wants to stay where he's at on the bike he's on. Um, Pekka is just, I think Pekka just threw in the towel. I think he's pretty much done for the season. Marquez struggled this weekend a little bit. That's the first time I've ever seen him struggle that much. So, but yeah, I think it's one of those things where the bike is just overdeveloped and needs to revamp itself and pretty much start from that 24 mark. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Lewis, man, you heard all that, but what are your thoughts? Is Ducati messing up? When you go over to Italy, do you need to go to the factory and tell some people who you are?
Nah. I think they know who I am. Uh, now, I don't think they're having any problems specifically. I mean, obviously, the 25 bikes got its challenges, and we see the guys that are on the 25 bikes sometimes have little flashes of brilliance and then struggle mightily. Obviously, Marquez, because of his riding style and his adaptiveness to get overcome issues, has been able to maybe mask some of the problems. Because if you look at everybody that's on the actual 25 bike, outside of Marquez, nobody's been consistent on that bike. The guys on the 24 bikes have been way more consistent. Pecco hasn't been able to put it together. He had one good weekend in Japan, and then somebody, didn't tighten the valve stem cap 100% tight this weekend, and obviously the bike was unrideable. He went from first to worst in 1 week, man, which is unheard of. I don't even understand how that happens.
Yeah, no,
Uh,
I agree there. I don't, I like, and I give it. I mean, look, I give it to these guys, right? Because they're as they, what Rossi's done, because they keep a tight lip for the most part. I mean, they don't, we've yet to see Bagnaia give the bike a finger, right? So,
I'm sure he's wanted to, but he
yeah,
also understands if that finger is going to come back and get stuck somewhere he don't want to get stuck in his contract, because it only takes a couple of times pissing the wrong people off to find
yeah,
yourself outside of racing, outside of a good ride, in a third tier team, not making the money you want to make or the results that you want to compete for. But yeah, there's definitely something about the 25 bike that's not working. And Mark was the only one that was able to mask whatever the problem was because of his riding style and his ability to adapt. And going into next year, I don't know what the solution is, man. I don't think anybody that's on a 24 bike is going to want the 25 bike next year.
right.
And I doubt the Ducati is going to want to keep pushing the 24 bike in 26.
Again,
And but
they did the 19 back then,
Yeah, but how long do you also want to do that? Because remember, man, we're just less than 20 months away from the 27 regulations kicking
Right,
in, and
right,
now you got a whole new problem. So do you want to try to fix all the problems in 1 year for a bike that you're going to scrap because the following year you have to make so many changes to the package to adapt to the new aerodynamics, the new motor, the new tires, the new this, the new, I mean, there's so many new things. How much money does anybody want to invest in 26, knowing that that bike that they're developing in 26 is going to go right in the trash in 27?
right. No, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. They
So
got it.
everybody ride at 24, and that's it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's talk about Honda. Honda, man, I listen when I think Luca Marini was leading the race at one point or second.
Second.
I was rooting for
Second.
him. I was rooting for him. Outside of Aprilia, I mean, Honda's. When Zarco won at the French, and kind of was going into Q2 before that and stuff like that. We were like, okay, they're gonna do something. They should be really pretty good, but I didn't expect them to be doing as well as they're doing. Granted, Mir crashed out, which is unfortunate, but they were very competitive this weekend. I think they have a good chance to do really well at the next few rounds. What are your thoughts, TJ, on how Honda did and is doing? And it's safe to say they're the third best manufacturer in the championship at the moment.
Yeah, no, it's always good to see like improvement. So from where they started from the beginning of the year, they were pretty much dead last, like the worst. And slowly but surely they've been improving. The second half of the season, we've seen Luca Marini come back from his injury, and he's been riding really well. Same with Mir. Um, for some reason, Mir still unfortunately has his incidents in the races, but he's been riding really well. It's pretty impressive to see. Zarco had a really, really tough weekend this weekend. I think he crashed like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Somehow he was still able to finish the GP. But um, I would say Luca Marini has definitely been a standout um, from what we know he's capable of and showing to do right now. Um, and for him to be leading the race, like sometimes when you see a rider that hasn't been up front for so long, you're like, do they know what to do right now? Or like, are they gonna like, sometimes the riders like go too hard and then they crash out because they're not used to it. But it was cool to see, even though he couldn't hold it. But you see the potential.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely potential there for Luca, and I think these guys are gonna. I don't know if they'll win before the end of the season, but they're really close. What are your thoughts, Reese, on Honda? What they're doing right now?
I mean, whatever Honda's doing, I mean, they're one of the only the Japan brands that has got getting their act together and coming back to the stage and coming pretty much like we say, coming back to the party to come up to the top, the front guys. So whatever they're doing, I mean, I commend them for their work. It took them a while, but I mean, from Luca to Mir, I mean, those guys are coming up. I mean, I think that you know, this year shows what they're possibly capable to do. And I think next year, I think if they keep going in the direction they're going, I think next year those are going to be some guys that you got to look out for. Those will be your dark horses right there. I think they may be the ones that come up and spoil a couple parties. So I think they're on the right path to going back towards the top. And as far as the other guys is all the way back there, and KTM seemed to lost the way. But I don't know. I think Honda's on the verge of coming back.
Yeah, I agree. I think Honda is definitely there and close, and it's nice to see Mia not crash as much, even though he crashed out in the main race. That's the part that's crazy. We'll move to Lewis. Lewis, what are your thoughts on what Honda is doing? And is Mia going to crash again before the season is over?
That's a guarantee. He's going to crash again at least a few more times before the season's over. But crash or not, I mean, his results are starting to show through. He's starting to be competitive. He's starting to finish on a regular basis a little bit higher up in that top 10, not just on the cusp of the top 10, 11 and 12th and so forth, but actually in the top 10 and even starting to creep his way up closer to the top 5, man. And that's what you want to see. And Marini, same thing, man. Next year, Honda's game plan is right before the start of the year. All the riders go to Japan, crash,
right,
and then all come back and they're super good again for some reason.
Like
that's what it took is Marini to crash during the what do you call it? Endurance race.
Yeah.
Never actually race, take a couple weeks off and come back. And all of a sudden he's a great rider again.
Yeah. And Mia got to be sitting here saying, look, man, I'm better than all these guys. I was sunning all of them in Moto 2 because he was murdering them in Moto 2.
Well, not only was he murdering them, he is a MotoGP champion.
Yeah.
He's got the #1 plate sitting in his house on his mantle. Like, he's got to look at that sometimes and be like, you know what? I'm the best guy on the Honda. I need to step up and be that #1 guy. I'm the #1 guy on paper, but championships aren't won on paper. They have to go out. You have to go out there and perform. And he's starting to do that. And hopefully, if he can stay rubber side down, he'll gain some more points. I mean, right now, he's where in the standings? Is he outside the top 10 in the overall standings?
I'll tell you in a second. Hang on.
I want to say he was like, last time I checked, I want to say he was like just outside the top 10 in the standings. He's 15th in the standings. So he's still got a ways to go to catch Zarco. Zarco is still the top Honda rider in the standings. He's number 10.
Right.
And even Marini is in front of Johan Mir at this point.
I mean, he
could catch Marini, and he could catch Zarco.
Yeah, I was gonna say he could catch a Zarco. Yeah, it's possible he can catch it because Zarco's crashing too.
Yeah.
So Zarco's been crashing for a little bit now. So anything is possible there. Let's talk about KTM. It's Bastianini is up and down. I feel like they need Vinales. Vinales is the glue to keep these guys steady? Because I think Vinales knows how to get the bike dialed in better than any of the other three riders on the team. Pedro was close. Pedro, I mean, he had a chance. I always said that Aldeguer was the better rider out of Pedro and him, even though Aldeguer had to go from the European Championship, where Acosta just came through Moto 3 and got the bigger shine, per se. But what are your thoughts, TJ, on where KTM is at? Is Acosta doing too much? Because he's crashing or trying to win.
I mean, KTM. I mean, at this point, I don't know. Since they're up there, down, they're up there, down. Like you said, they do need their glue piece, their Maverick. To be the veteran and kind of show them possibly what's needed. But yeah, I think they're struggling. I think they kind of need a Pedro Costa type rider, like someone that's a little aggressive, that will actually test the limits and can show you like what's the limit and can dial you down a little bit. Sometimes his demeanor, his attitude probably needs to change, but I think you kind of need an aggressive rider. Like Bastianini's more of like a laid back type. I think it's kind of hard to get information out of him. I'm not sure how he really speaks to his boss and all this stuff, but he doesn't really find his way until the second half of the race, and
Right.
sometimes he's really not around. So um, you need that Pedro to keep you afloat and keep it exciting. And it was good to see Aldeguer and Pedro battling each other as they were talking about their Moto 2 days and stuff like that. So you see the future is bright between them two. But I think Pedro's, as long as he stays more humble and keep his aggressiveness down, and when he's in hot water, don't like show his emotions. Just keep
Right.
him inside and just ride. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
KTM, I just don't know what they're really doing. I don't know if they're just on a budget. Obviously, we know what they were going through before all this, but yeah, they just can't seem to get it together. It's not the chain, it's something else, and yeah.
Right. I mean, Reese. I mean, how much time do we as writers give y'all engineers? I mean, you're a writer, but how much time do we give y'all before we start, leaving popcorn in your car and turning the heat off and doing all like that? Because KTM, it seems like they're struggling the second half of the races with grip. It seems like all the riders, struggle with that, and no matter how they fight, that's kind of like their Achilles heel.
I mean, yeah, it is their Achilles heel. I mean, again, as TJ said, you said, it seemed like KTM has lost their way. Um, and Vinales is that glue to actually figure out what the bike needs and how to develop that bike. He is that guy. Because when Vinales was there, he was one of the fastest KTM guys out there, and it was like everybody else was following suit.
Hmm.
Without him there, it's just no one's there to give any kind of guidance. He's like the OG that knows the game, knows how to develop a bike, knows how to set the bike up when the tires drop or when the tires are new. He knows how to what the bike needs, and there's nobody there to do that. Acosta just he's pretty much one of the young kids that really didn't come through like the 125 days with the electronics, no electronics. I mean, so it's all everything's electronics. It's just everything now is just twist the throttle and go for the kids nowadays, and let the electronics do the rest. Um, but it's like with Acosta, he's almost like a young Vinales sometimes. He's either there or not there. He's the hothead. It's like it seems like a lot of the blame is on the bike. Yes, but then it's as a rider, you have to just step back and take the blame for yourself. Like I could have did this better. I could have did this better, or I could have let the tires come to settle myself in and then go hard at the end, or however you need to do it. Um, but it's just nobody there to help with KTM, and it's just like there's certain things that it's just I don't know what mistakes they're making. It's like Bastianini's nowhere to be found. chains are popping off. I mean, I'm waiting for plastics to start falling off, going down the
Right.
front, or
Is
winglets to fall off.
is it time for the CEO to do like the Titans player to say, we're paying like trash, and that's not his exact words, but is it time for this to say, like, we're better than this,
Something.
but right now we ain't there.
Yeah, it's just, and just they're not there no more. It's just they're, I'm surprised I seen Brad Bender up there this past weekend. I mean, I was glad to see him there. I mean,
Right.
Brad Bender is one of the guys that's had more chances than anyone. And I'm like, you should be further along than what you are, but he's not. And it's there's got to be some kind of revamp in the team itself.
Right. I think Brad Bender had not necessarily has what Raul has, but when Pedro came to KTM, I think that rattled Brad a little bit. And he was just crashing a lot since like just struggling a lot. And I just wonder if it's sometimes as when you try to stay Switzerland and neutral, if you're a boss and you got people that are looking up to you, you can't show favoritism. And if you're all extra excited when one rider is coming in the building, and you're not as excited as the other when the other rider comes in the building, and people see that, or the rider sees that, they're gonna feel a way about that kind of things, right?
Right. I mean, it would rattle anybody's cage when you're the guy that's been there for a couple of years, and now you got a new kid that's making headlines, and they're paving the way for him. Yeah, that's going to rattle anybody's cage because he could take my seat, he could take my job. So you're trying to go above, right almost above your head, and push it to another limit. So yeah,
Right.
that's going to rattle anybody's cage.
There's only one employee of the month, right?
Right. That's pretty much it. There's only one employee a month, only one top rider, an A rider and a B rider. And I don't want to be that B rider.
No doubt, no doubt. Lewis, man, we're gonna keep it moving and get you in here. Yeah, what are your thoughts on KTM? What Acosta is doing? Just the struggles. I mean, I think that Vinales' shoulder is a lot more serious. I think Vinales might be done for the season. They just don't want to say. Um,
Yeah, I mean, when they pulled him out this weekend, I mean, that's a long way to fly to not ride. So, I don't know how serious this injury is or how it's become, or maybe just from the course of riding, if something's gotten worse. They typically don't like to give too many details. But I hate to see a rider injured, especially somebody that has the talent he has. Everybody knows. I think he's a basket case. He's either 100% on or 100% off. Like this, he's a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde kind of rider. But for KTM, he's the only one that's been doing anything positive this year. He kind of put them in a position and gave them some setup and gave them some ideas and helped them find their way. I still think they're a little bit lost. Obviously, you can see it with the up and down season of their riders. And, at some tracks, they look great. Most tracks, they don't look great. One track, one guy looks great. The other three look horrible. Like it's really interesting to see a team that technically all the riders are on the same bike. They're on the same package. They're even in the same damn suits.
right,
Even though they're on two different teams, they're technically four guys racing for a factory team pretty much.
right. They
And
got
to see
contracts.
four guys struggle like that is crazy, especially, thinking about, I mean, Pedro Costa hasn't been with them too long, but, we know that the talent that he is. Vinales hasn't been, this is his first year with them, but we know the talent that he is. I think the only person that's a real question mark on that team is Brad Binder. I think Brad Binder just kind of needs to look in the mirror and decide, do I want to keep riding for this team, or when this contract is up, is it time for me to move on? Is it time for me to look for another team to ride with? Because I think he's kind of gotten to as far as he's going to get with KTM. I think the bike and him, this is as far as they're going to get, unless the bike does some incredible jump in technology in the next 24 months. Brad Binder needs to sit down, look in the mirror, and say, hey, do I want to be the perennial KTM guy for the rest of my life, be that loyal, always with the team? Once I retire, maybe I become a test rider, I become a brand ambassador or something like that. Or am I here to try to win? Am I here to try to get a number one plate and hang it in my house, or am I content with just riding around for 11th place for the rest of my life?
Right. It's only Brad, Pecco, and Quattarara so far that's been on the same manufacturer since they got in MotoGP.
Yeah, and we've seen Quadraro, he's constantly pushing Yamaha, and I think he's going to give them one last opportunity. But I think come 2027, if that Yamaha is not working the way he wants it to work, it's time for him to even start looking in the mirror because Honda's outperforming them right now. And that's not something that 2 years ago, I would have never said that Honda's going to outperform Yamaha.
Right, right.
Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, but speaking of Yamaha, I mean, look, man, I was rooting for. This was a good race weekend. I'm not gonna lie. There's something about seeing 6 Ducatis in 1 through 6. I gotta throw that out there. But at the same time, it was it's a pretty good weekend. And when Rins was out there for a little bit out front, man, I'm like, he might be able to get away. It was like 7 laps left, 8 laps left, and he was still competitive on that Yamaha. What are your thoughts on Rins, that flash? Is it just one of those things, or is he starting to come back into his own? I mean, he's not limping as much either, too. What are your thoughts, TJ, on what Yamaha is doing and how they were, and being in front of Quattararo too, because that's the first.
I mean, I think Riz is just trying to still show that he got it, but I don't think he got it anymore. I
Oh,
mean, he's still
come
he's
come on.
still a good rider. He's still a good rider. I mean, I know he's hurt. He has the broken leg. He's trying to recover from for a little bit, but he's always been the back, like the back, like the end. So like not
He's
even getting any points, not even getting any points. So like it was shocking to see him in front of Quarterano and being in the front. And
okay.
he did it for like, I mean, he did it for like 2 laps maybe, and then whatever tire choice he had, I don't know if he ran the soft rear, but yeah, he just slipped down from first to 10th, like in another 2 laps, so 2 or 3 laps. So like it was kind of weird, but it was cool to see. But yeah, I don't know. I think he's just still trying to show that he has it and don't give up on me, kind of
Right.
kind of thing. But I don't know what else he can prove. Like if he has a good package, where you see him back in the top 10, I don't know.
Right, right. Yeah, I agree. I don't know that either. What are your thoughts, Reese, on Yamaha? What Rins did? I think he had the soft tires. Pretty competitive. Nice to mix it up with the KTM. What are your thoughts?
Where the hell did he come from? That was my question. I'm just keeping honest. I was like, where the hell did you come from? Where was that all year long and everything else? But like TJ said, I mean, it's almost like he's just trying to prove a point that he still got it, which I don't think he still got it. I think he's one of the guys that is like, it's time to look in the mirror for him and say, hey, I don't have it anymore. This injury took it out of me. Can I still do this at this high of a level? And is it time for me to move on to greener pastures, World Superbike, or something else, or anything like that? But it's just, I mean, that was great to see him up there finally. I mean, that was something different. But I mean, just it's almost like the same thing as Pekka. What Pekka did the last race. I mean, it's once in a blue moon that you do it. I mean, you can't just say I'm gonna do it one time here and 20 more times not. I mean, you've been back there for the whole season fighting with guys in 15th place and the last place, and you've been like the worst Yamaha rider all season. So, me, I'm like, great, you did it. It was good to see you up there, but you know, is it a little too late? So,
A little too late. What are your thoughts, Lewis, on Rins, Yamaha? Did they switch bikes? Because we saw Pecco tried Morbidelli's bike in a test, and so forth. Do you think, like TJ is saying, or Smitty has said, these guys need to be out of MotoGP if they keep finishing in 15th,
Hey, look,
or it's just giving him time to sort out the bike? And
I don't
also,
want
obviously, the Yamaha is not the best bike.
I don't want to hear nobody disrespecting Sideshow Bob. All right, the sideshow Bob of MotoGP. You better put some respect on his name. All right.
I agree. My daughter's a big fan of Rins.
I'm a big fan of Rins. I've always loved his riding style. He's got that smooth, silky smooth riding style, like that, just fast corner speed, almost like Jorge Lorenzo ish riding
Mhm.
style.
Yeah.
And he's very upright. Like whereas other guys are leaning and dragging elbows, if you look at him, he's a little bit more conventional in his upper body riding style. But I do think that whatever this injury is that's been nagging him, this leg injury, I think it's taken a lot longer for him to heal. And it might just be that, you know what, man, I don't bounce as much as easily as I did when I was a kid. You know, he's not a kid anymore. He's a little bit older. He's a married man. He's got kids. And it's just taking him a little bit longer to heal. And I'm hoping, praying that he continues to heal and he can come back and be as competitive as he can be for the package he's on.
Right.
Because on
And
another package, I think he'd be even more competitive. I don't think that the guy has lost any skill. I don't think he's lost anything. I think he's just been injured and he's not on a great package and he just has to work around what he's got, you know. Don't go out there killing yourself. Don't do a Mark Marquez if the bike's not underneath you to do anything worth doing.
right. No, I agree there. I think that Renz is again in Moto 2, he was killing these guys.
Yep.
On the Suzuki, he was nice. I mean, I know Mir won, but he was nice.
He was nice, man.
He-
Silky. I mean, I still think back to the one race in Silverstone
Oh, with Mark.
where he overtook Mark on the very last corner. I mean, he shot that Suzuki out of that corner like it was shot out of a cannon, man.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's impressive. I like that.
No.
That was definitely the day that I was like, wow, man, this dude's got. I always knew he had skill back from the Moto 2 days and his time in MotoGP, but you know, I just hope that he can get over whatever injuries he has. I hope whatever package Yamaha rolls out next year is even 5% better than this year, so they get out of that, you know, cellar that they're in right now. Because the only manufacturer worse than them right now is KTM in my eyes. And that's not good company to have. You know, the only company that's worse than you is one that's almost out of business. That's not where you want to be.
No, at all, at all. And it's not good for you got Top Rock coming in and stuff like that. So you definitely want to, obviously, we know all the manufacturers are doing everything to get better, right? So I'm not gonna sit here and say not doing it, but it's tough when they struggle, and it's tough for riders to keep the confidence. Anything you guys want to touch on before we can talk about Miller? But anything you want to touch on before we talk about a little bit about Moto 2 and what's going on there?
No, I think that's it for GP.
All right,
I think that's it.
It was great to watch races though, right? I mean, it was good racing, good passing. Aldeguer was on fire. Aldeguer winning, and Peugeot hasn't done it, and as a rookie, Aldeguer did it, and that's huge. I mean, that's kind of. I mean, I'm glad we didn't brush off it. The second youngest rider to do it. Does this kind of like make you? I mean, I guess it's more rhetorical for me. I don't know if I overlook all the shenanigans he's done in Moto 2 and when he first got to MotoGP and stuff like that. But what are you guys' thoughts on Aldeguer winning the GP race? I mean, you got to show up, you got to finish, but obviously it might have been different if Bez was up, kept it up on two wheels. But for him to fight against Acosta, who was hungry, Raul was hungry, Renz, everybody was hungry because once they saw Marquez and Bez go down, everybody was trying to get in the club door first.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is good to see this guy finally get on top, get a podium. And I can just think of back when we talked with Eli on the show. He was rooting for Aldeguer to
Uh,
finally get a podium, and he finally got it.
Eli already texted me.
um, but he was so close to beating, or getting past Mark Marquez's record for being the youngest rookie in the sprint, I think it was, or
Yeah,
I don't know
youngest.
if he did pass it. But yeah, so I salute him, I congratulate him. It does now show why Ducati chose him so early. Um, he's very smart, just found his way. He didn't really kind of like jump into it and try to just throw it out the window at first. It took him a little while to get it under his belt, and he's been a little more consistent as of late. But this was well deserving, and what better chance when these guys go down? It's like you gotta fulfill your opportunity when it presents itself, and to show the pace he had in the sprint. I mean, I knew in the GP it was gonna be another fight with him, so it was just fortunate for him that he didn't have Bezecchi and Mark behind him, but
Right, right.
it's it was good to see him pull it out.
Right, right. What are your thoughts, Reese, on what Acosta did? Aldeguer did. I mean, and in magnificent fashion too. Over 5 seconds.
Oh, he
He seems
killed it.
like he's like, as we were talking off air, like Bobby Fong. Is bend it or go home. Right. He's full gas, and he doesn't have a take it easy button. You kind of see that on Saturday, on Sunday, and you see it when he crashes out.
I mean, yeah, you do see it. I mean, like I remember back in a couple shows ago, I remember Lewis said it. Once this kid figures out how to go as fast on on brand new tires when they are used, he's going to be dangerous. And what he just showed in this race was what he is capable of doing. And it shows the level of talent that is in MotoGP, but it also shows the level of respect or who's in front of Bezecchi and Marquez, because it was almost like sharks in the water. Like the chum went in the water, and soon them two went out. It was like the dinner bell went off. Hey, we can finish from first, and everybody went full gas. So to know that this kid can actually win and do what he did when Marquez isn't there, it shows that he's ready to step up and come up the level. Later on and give him a little more time, and he's going to be there. Like I
Yeah,
said, he can be a dangerous person once he figures out the new tires and do the same thing on worn down tires.
yeah, no, I agree. Lewis, man, I'll before you talk about Furman, it seems like Acosta was listening to us because he kept that train pretty slow. I don't know how he did it, but he kept that train pretty slow to keep all those guys in the mix. But touch on that a little bit on Acosta's ability to do that, but also what Furman has done as the youngest guy, because I mean he already had the factory contract. He had the factory contract before he rode a GP bike. He kind of cruised in the his second year in Moto 2. I didn't think it was a good look for the team he was on, but obviously Ducati knew what they were doing, and it seems like they got it figured out.
I mean, there's a couple of different questions, and to recap on that. So, I mean, Acosta, we know that the KTM in a straight line is the fastest bike. So if you can slow everybody in the corners and then get on the gas, it's going to be real hard to pass because you got the fastest bike. They got to get a drive out of the corner. If you're screwing up everybody's drive, like somebody else, is hard to pass a bike that's got a lot of grunt when you can't get any head of steam underneath you to actually pass them. Costa was riding a smart race, but we saw what happens when a guy that doesn't have pace gets passed by a guy that does have pace. It quickly becomes very, very visually stunning how much pace that person didn't have. And what they were doing was they were trying to ride an intelligent ride to ride around the problems they were having on the bike. But again, once Furman got out front, I mean, a 5 second lead in MotoGP is a 5 second lead, especially for your first race win. Because you got to think about it. When you got 8 laps left and you're in the lead, you're thinking about just hitting your apex, hitting your corners, hitting your markers, this and that. When you're down to 3 laps left, you start thinking, oh shit, I might win. And that's where you start making these mental mistakes. In those last 2 laps, that's when mental mistakes come in, especially when you got a lead like that. And he was able to manage it. He gave up a little bit of the lead in the last lap or two just because he knew he had it in his pocket. So he was pushing like 95% instead of 100%. And he was able to bring it home, man. And I've been saying for a while now that this kid was the truth. and he finally, proved me right. He was able to put the beginning of the race together with the end of the race and race a complete race and benefit from the
Seemed like
tires when they're fresh, when the tires when they were worn, and one last thing. I mean, this. Here's another Spaniard, man, and this Spaniard is in the MM93 Academy. He's part of the Mark Marquez Bros,
Yeah.
and and the Mark Marquez Bros seem to be kind of touching a lot of guys in different classes that are from Spain that are kind of like getting underneath the Mark Marquez umbrella and learning from the Marquez brothers. And if you look at other winners that won this weekend, these are again guys from Spain that are very close to the Marquez brothers. So without having an official Mark Marquez Academy, it almost feels like Mark Marquez is starting to put together a little Spanish mafia of his own to go up against the Italian mafia.
I
Mafia.
I agree. I agree. For sure. And on that note, let's talk about Moto 2. Diego Moreira, yeah, impressive. I mean, I think he might have one of the most impressive resumes coming into MotoGP, even though it hasn't been officially announced yet. But it seems like he's going to be on LCR next season. What are your thoughts on how he's riding and how he's doing? And Gonzalez getting disqualified? Are we getting a little bit too ridiculous with software? What are your what are your thoughts, TJ?
Yeah, man. Diego's definitely riding great, and then it's just leading this championship up to a great finish. Um, and yeah, he's only down 9 points, and this is just a good ride. He's been riding really well. Like the race before, he got on the podium. So very excited to see what he can do for the rest of the season and for next year if he does get that seat, if that's true. Um, as far as the software goes, like I'm still confused on that. I think we were chatting about this, off here, but it's just like I don't know if they're trying to get an advantage for like the tech guys, because they know their riders in a championship contending moment, and
Mhm.
I just don't know like if it's a certain track, if it was a whoopsie, if it was like I don't know, but it sucks. You couldn't ride. Now you lose a lot of points. Now you put your championship at stake. So we'll see what they can do next round. Now Aaron Canet, I don't know where he came from, but now he's kind of back in contention for the championship as well. So, but yeah, that's like the second time we heard that this year. I think the last one was with Igor and the Trackhouse team. But obviously, it has nothing to do with the rider. I just don't know behind the scenes like exactly what the software really means. If it has to be track by track or um, yeah, so still confused on that, but it's interesting. But I'm sure they won't do that again because they have 3 rounds left.
Right, right. Reese, man. I mean, how does this work with the software? Whoever pulls the short straw goes in at night and do the upload.
Nah, I know software is usually done by track. I mean, they usually kind of, if it's every year, they kind of use the same like baseline setup from that track from last year, and it kind of just you kind of use that base. That's like a baseline, and then you can kind of use that and kind of go from there to see where you're at and kind of tweak and tune from there. But I mean, sometimes these guys just a ride, like I said before, a rider always swears he knows what he wants and he wants to put this in, and it kind of gets lost in the software when they try to go so much and do so much, and it kind of just gets messed up. And then by the time you get into it, it's too late and it's race time and it's all said and done. It's somebody
Right.
wants every turn is good, but hey, turn six, it's I need a little bit more traction here. But then when you put that traction in turn six, now you messed up seven, eight, nine.
Right.
So
So
you
it's not
know,
it's not something where there's like two different versions of something. It's just more the configurations in the software that people make that makes it non-homologated in Gonzalez's instance. Or is it like
right.
completely separate software?
Well, sometimes you can do different software. You can do a map A, map B, depending on what the data guy and your engineer puts in there. So it's different map settings you can put in. But usually with the map settings, one is for dry, one's for wet, less power, depending on how they set it up. So
Right.
if you're in a dry setting and you want maximum power, you're probably going, or you have a setting probably for fresh tires and a map setting for the tire settings when they drop off. So
Right.
it just, you don't want to keep switching. You put the wrong setting in there while you're riding, and you're kind of up shit's creek without a paddle now.
So,
So
so you're saying it's the rider's fault. The software is wrong.
sometimes, sometimes it can be. It could be a setup error. It could just, it's just, or it's not the communication. There's communication errors. It's like I'm saying one thing, but I really mean this. So what you told your crew chief, he's doing what you told him,
Right.
but it's not, y'all not matching up.
Okay. All right. I see that. Let's bring Lewis in. I know Lewis got a lot to add. What are your thoughts?
Data and numbers, man. That's all me. So
'Cause there
as
has
the
to be
only
a button. There has to be a button that says, that don't enable, right?
as the only Spanish speaking person on the pod today, I actually went into Spanish Sports Channel to try to get a little bit more information because the information on MotoGP was very generic.
Uh-huh.
And what the Spanish media is reporting is that he was disqualified because he had a previous version of the software that's no longer homologated uploaded to his ECU. And that previous version of the software allows for more parameters that are no longer allowed to be modified with the current new homologated version of the software. So he had a little bit more up, up, down, down, left, right than anybody else because the previous version of the software had additional parameters that are no longer allowed to be modified in the new version of the software. So this isn't something that the rider did. This is something that a data guy or the team manager was like, hey, we're having some problems. If we upload this old software, we can fix these couple of areas where we're having problems because the parameters no longer exist. So let's see how it looks on the old software. Oh, it looks good in the old software. Oh, it looks better than the new software. When I turn around, you might hit the enter button. I'm gonna turn around. Don't tell me what you did.
So did they say that in Spanish, that part?
They didn't say that in Spanish, but the Spanish media was very, very pessimistic that it was an error
Right.
because it was an error that benefits the rider. It's a benefit to the team. And, obviously it's why do you even have the old version of the software in there? I mean, I can understand you having it there maybe to compare the data between this year and last year to try to see how to fix the data to be a little bit more in alignment. But then you're going to overwrite the software that's in the ECU with this software, knowing that the version number is going to upload. I mean, you're a data guy. You know what happens when you upload a patch. It automatically has the patch history, automatically has what the build number is.
Mm-hmm.
And if this is something that MotoGP goes through all the bikes and checks this, they do this because they want to make sure there's parity, especially in that particular Moto 2, because it's all about parity there. Everybody has the same
Right.
motor, everybody has the same tires. You can do a lot of changes with the chassis, but you at least want to have a base setting that everybody has to work from.
Right.
And if you have that extra advantage, it is an extra advantage.
Right. And it's something we may not know because is it every bike get tested or is it random? Because if it's random, then they might
Luck of the draw. He could have been using it for a lot of different races whenever he
Right.
had problems. Yeah. I mean, I
because
would like to say it's something that they probably do at the tech inspection after the race because they check the fuel after the race. They check the ECU after the race, and there's probably a few more things just for the homologation to make sure that they check in the post-race inspection. We see that in Moto America. We see that everywhere. After the race, all the bikes go into the tech garage, and it's run by the organization, and they check, fuel and this and that. And, Reese will tell you, I mean, there's been guys in Moto America that have been found to have non-homologated fuel because they used a container that was contaminated with a different type of fuel. All of a sudden, they do a fuel check, and now the fuel is not 100% your fuel, and you get DQ'd or you get points or something like that. So sometimes there are small errors that can happen. But an ECU error, I mean, somebody physically has to hit the enter button and upload that software.
Right. Unless
Yeah,
unless
normally is a random check. Normally is random checks, or it's like the first three guys, or whatever they want to do, and it just, hey, we want to, instead of doing a normal check, they want to go a little deeper and dive in fuels and pistons and stuff like that.
Or somebody protests. Somebody says, "Hey,
I
you
was
know
gonna,
what, man?
Yep.
This guy seems to have a little too much hot sauce going down that front straightaway. I mean, we're supposed to all be on the same bikes, but he it seems like he got a little bit extra.
right.
Check his fuel, check this, check that, and then all of a sudden,
Yep. Could be a
pop goes the
protest.
weasel.
I was gonna bring that up, yeah, because it could be a protest. Because I mean, we could do that at club level. So yeah.
I
And
never did that. I never did that.
the fact that you said that, I'm gonna
I never had somebody's motor torn down.
you don't think about that, right?
No,
Of course not. And not. We don't do whatever it takes to win.
Nope. Never ever did that. Fucked up somebody's whole weekend.
I would. I would.
No, and it's tough for his championship, right? I mean, I think he was struggling a little bit, but he would have saved his championship. But now he gets no points.
Yeah, now it's a 9-point difference. Now it's one race, one mistake. I mean, it's the difference between first place and third place. He loses this point standing. The one thing in this series that I'm kind of confused about is, at the beginning of the year, everybody was super high on Jake Dixon, and he's kind of been struggling. And I think now that he's got a ride elsewhere, I think he's just riding out this season just to get the hell out of Moto2.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what I'm seeing. I don't see him having the urgency that he had earlier in the year. And then Aaron Canet, I mean, the lifetime Moto2 rider. I mean, he doesn't have a ride yet for next year.
Yeah, he
Yeah, he's
does.
VDS.
Does he?
He's VDS. VDS.
Oh, that's
Moto
right. He's
2.
switching. He's
Yeah,
switching
Moto 2.
speeds.
He's going Cassini.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said,
But
man,
he's-
lifetime Moto2 rider.
Yeah. No, but he's one of the few lifetimers. I mean, you got Jake Roberts in there, you got Dixon, you got Canet. I mean, who else we got? That's kind of.
I mean, those are the OGs.
Yeah. Was his name Lopez? These and it's. I mean, we talk about the closeness of the race, but these guys are so up and down throughout the season. Where it's kind of like everything has to be right for them they either win or they're struggling. Where you see a lot of these younger guys, maybe most of them coming out of Mark Marquez's camp these days, they seem to they keep getting better and better every round. They're not kind of, it's not like, they're top 5 one round and then the bottom, 5 the next round kind of thing. They're progressively getting better and coming towards the top. Have you guys noticed that?
Yeah. No, I see the younger guys as time goes on becoming a little bit more proficient and getting better and better. There's a couple of guys now that are, I think, going on to their second or third year in Moto2, and they're starting to worry me because they showed a lot of brilliance in Moto3, and now in Moto2 they've kind of seemed to be topping out. So either they need to switch teams and look for new people around them because the equipment is very, very close, minus the chassis. But I look at somebody like an Izan Guevara.
Yeah.
In Moto3,
The beast.
killer. And now he's in Moto2, and he's with Tony Abellino, and both of them seem to struggle on that same team. It's like that team, for whatever reason, can't put it together. And it's not like these two guys can't ride, man. These two guys can ride. So
is that sometimes like stardom though? Is it like you get up there and now you're more known and stuff like that, and you just as a young kid just having a little bit more fun because I mean, do you really just think it's just a team?
It's a combination. Sometimes it's a team, and sometimes it's a rider. Sometimes it's both. A good team will keep a not so good focused rider focused. And but a good rider on a not so good team can't make the team necessarily better. If the team is capped out, and so I'm going to say it's 80% on the rider to know what he's doing, and 20% on the team to make sure they have the right rider. Because you can take the not right rider and make him look good. You know, you can make him better, but you can't take a bad team and make the team better because as a rider, what input do you have other than I need more grip? I need this. I need that. The team sucks and can't give you anything because they just don't have the technical knowledge or know-how or just the support people to make it happen. You know, you're stuck. You're stuck on a bike and you're getting paid, but, you know, you're stuck in 18th place every weekend, no matter how good rider you are.
Yep.
That's a good analogy, man.
All right.
I've been around a while.
Where
That's why he's the OG.
is,
OG.
are they at Philip next round or
Is it? I thought
we
it
get
was-
2 weeks off.
I think it is Phillips. I think it's Australia next round.
Yeah.
Well,
So I think it's what, 2 weeks off, right?
Yep.
We got
Yes.
Australia, Malaysia, and then Portugal.
That last year at the Phillip Islands when Bezecchi and Maverick crashed in turn one. And then like what is it? Turn 2 or 3 is like always bites a lot of riders too. So it's gonna be an interesting race. I know that for sure.
I mean, the thing with Australia that's always interesting is the weather, man. It's
Yeah.
either lava
It's right on the
or
water.
it's raining.
Right.
You can see waves crashing in the background.
Or the wildlife.
Or-
the wildlife.
Or the
Yep.
wildlife,
Or get hit by
Oh,
a seagull.
or a
Yeah.
kangaroo, or a wallaby, or whatever.
Red flag for animals.
But I
Something.
will say this:
Jesus.
I think it's one of the most exciting tracks because it's a speed track. It's got a couple of places where you really got a bonsai. It's got some elevation changes. You know, the last few years, as far as I remember, they've been exciting races that have come
Yep.
down to like the last
Close
couple of
races.
corners or the last few laps. It hasn't been somebody getting out front and just walking away from everybody.
Right.
And then after that, we go to Malaysia, which that's a great track, but that's another lava track, man. Anybody there's always 105 degrees, 100% humidity. And then we back in Europe for what is it, the last 2 rounds?
Yeah, Portugal and
man.
Valencia.
Yep.
Portugal might have something really, really interesting for people to see.
Okay.
That's
all right.
all I'm gonna say.
All right. Does
Oh,
that mean
God.
you're going to be there and interviewed?
No, but there might be possibly be a new
Something.
something
New team out there.
no, a new product
Okay.
All right.
out there.
All right. Well, we're looking forward
Keep
to
an
it.
eye out.
All right, fellas. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on. It was a great weekend this past weekend. Reese, have fun over in Europe. Come back in one piece.
I'll try, man.
No doubt. TJ with Two Wheels and Coffee, the real Luis Ortega, the numbers guy. Peace.
Peace.
Peace.